Welcome to the new professional StarCraft 2 with one of the first Zerg versus Protoss tournament matches on the new StarCraft 2 balance patch. Who better to show it off than the former world champion Zerg in the blue, the Italian stallion. It's Reynor, facing off against the best Protoss in the world in the red. We have Hero in a best of 5 Protoss versus Zerg tournament showdown with new maps, new balance. In the same way, I'm begging you to smash that like button, maybe even subscribe. Help me count at the algorithm. Jimmy, what do we have? 1,721 likes on this video, on this cast, and I'll cast another one. And I'll probably do it anyways, because I don't know what else I do with my life. But thank you for watching, hopefully. You've had a good day so far. And hopefully it's about to get just a little bit better than Reynor's very first drones, as Hero's probe slips through the workers only path, and is actually getting kind of close, alright, to killing off one of the drones. Now, the new patch didn't add some of these cheeky map features. Of course, for those interested in slipping in the back door and harassing your opponent's workers, well, more power to you. I'm not here to judge, but I will anyways. But one of the map features on the new map contest. But the patch itself, as the probe seems finally done with its attempted murder, its successful thievery of 5 minerals, as well as just general trespassing. And, looking to upgrade that murder charge. But drone almost killed off. But Psionic Storm. Alright, if your Psionic Storm lasts more than 6 seconds, make sure to consult a hotfix today. So, Storm is now twice as long. 6 seconds instead of about 3. It does almost 50% more damage. So the DPS is lowered 110 over 6 seconds. So it's a significant DPS decrease, but it's larger as well. 1.5 to 2 radius, which comes out to over 75% more area, which is quite significant, especially when many of your units are more melee-oriented, which, you know, give or take. On top of that, the cast range is reduced by 1, and I think that's the most relevant in many scenarios as well. You can definitely feel that cast range reduction despite the radius increase, but make no mistake, the new Storm is, in my opinion, a buff against Zerg, a slight nerf against Terran, and LOL against Protoss. The Adept just shading around. On top of that, energy recharge has been nerf buffed. Nerfed in that it only gives 50 energy. Buffed in that it's on a 45 second instead of 60 second cool. So you don't get as much, but you get it quicker, which a lot of shifts in that direction. In my opinion, again, which, I mean, that's why we're here, right? And if not, just... It's not a full-on nerf. It definitely feels like you have that energy when you need it, more often. And a lot of the time, you don't need 100 energy. 50 will do the trick. That's enough for a storm, enough to light up the Oracle yet again. So, the Mothership is a little bit slower. Been putting on some extra weight lately. And Disruptors have a shorter cooldown, though I have yet to see a single Disruptor in anything but my own games on the new patch. As for Zerg, the Banelings have plus 5 HP after speed finishes. The Spire, a little bit quicker. And cost 50-50 less. As well as Microbial Shroud, now reducing range damage by 50% when within the Shroud. It's an upgrade, though, and it's on the Infestor, which makes it... So far, I have yet to see anyone use it intentionally, though a few players have upgraded it. Again, I'm going to keep saying it. In my opinion, it's almost entirely useless. It does not reduce damage from Storm, nor Snipe, and it does reduce energy on the Infestor, which can't just eat Zerglings or suck out hatcheries in order to get energy. So, the only thing the Infestor can do is sit around looking pretty, which is not so great at that either, let's be honest. Well, now that we've got all that out of the way, after the intense action of the first 5 minutes, where the Adepts and Oracles and even the Probe poking and prodding at Reynor's base, and Reynor politely, maybe not so politely, yet firmly making sure that Hero doesn't get too much done. Now we're progressing to the full-on macro game. A lair's on the way, a roach warning. 4 gas geysers simultaneously, as Reynor clearly looking to tech up about as dramatically as possible. So the pocket base here on Celestial Enclave, the Enclave base, if you would. I said it like that was super clever. Wasn't that clever. I'm not impressed with myself. I deserve the shame I brought on myself by bringing attention to it. Thank you for coming to my TEDx talk. Mutas? A Spire on the way. So this is one of the first times of all the players to use them. I think Reynor is probably the most likely to get some mileage out of the Spire, building quicker for a little bit less money. Now, that doesn't change the fact that the counters are still very hard and very effective. Hero's just moving out. Built a Void Ray for defense, has 8 Stalkers. Blink isn't even close to being done, but he's just moving in because why not? Just trying to keep Reynor honest, and so far, the recall out. Reynor will kill exactly 0 units on the way. The Oracles fly right past. Worker-only path means, of course, the Queens can't get back there. And maneuvering between. So the interesting thing is you can actually move the Workers away, and I believe that will block Adept Shades and the like. So makes it a little bit easier, especially for Zerg, to avoid some of the more dramatic harassment. But the microaggressions will continue until at least Mutas are on the field. Hero just has a bunch of Stalkers now. He's just slapped all these units onto the field. 59 to 69 workers. But Reynor, while he's in a nice economic position, this is a lot of Stalkers, and Mutas aren't so great in low numbers against them. But Zerglings can have a little more success. No upgrades at all against +1 attack. 5 Mutas in production. Blink quite late in the grand scheme of things for Hero, but he just kind of randomly built units and he's moving across the map. A classic Hero timing, but definitely not a classic timing because he's much more particular about those. Infestation Pit is on the way. Templar Archives, charge, +2. We're all over the place on the production tab, but 5 Mutas. The Distractionary Mutas, he's not adding any more, so I don't know how intent. It looks like these are just to bait out, ideally, some Phoenixes. Try to keep Hero busy. Back on his side of the map. Unfortunately, it's not going to be the more Muta-oriented style, but definitely something to kind of dictate the pace of the game. Meanwhile, Stasis dodged out. Zergling's going to deny yet another base. Muta's flying in. A single cannon is in position. But he's going to be able to target down some of the probes, and Hero doesn't have an overwhelming abundance that he can just lose them for free. Reynor up 50 supply of the Mutas, but the Blink Stalkers knock a couple out of the sky and bring another that critical mass of 5 that can easily kill probes. Meanwhile, the Oracles are in position. A Fleet Beacon is on the way. A Phoenix or 2 will be built. But the Fleet Beacon I don't think is for Phoenix range, but instead for your more typical late game Mothership Tempest sort of shenanigans. So the Spire, importantly for Reynor, the Spire is now done. He can build Corruptors when needed. Is that Archon walled in, or is that just a House Archon who doesn't like to go outside? Hey look, it's me. Full of angry energy. Like and subscribe, or else. The Mutas flapping away. Managed to get another kill or 2. Only 1 gas geyser at the Enclave base. Lurker Den is in production, looking to deal with the ground army head on. And that is a whole lot. Hero, I think, has made a point. Since the patch, I've barely seen him even research Psionic Storm. He's like, oh, you're going to nerf buff Storm? Look at all the cares that I do not give. Blugs forward. Now, bit optimistic. Oracles are lit up, though. And as long as Hero knows how to dodge Corrosive Bile, which is not a guarantee. Wow, the Zerg army just evaporates under the overwhelming power of the Archons. The Oracles melting through. Just adding so much damage. Corrosive Bile shrugged off. Hydra's added in. The Zerglings trying to go through the rocks. The natural may be opened up. I think Hero caught a glimpse of this in some fashion. Kind of unclear. But before the Zerglings are able to get through the blockade, just a set of rocks with a fancier look, but... Oh yeah, the most important buff to Protoss. The Mothership now has its coolest animation. Now you can, instead of just a fancy light, the Mothership is clearly being called in on the Nexus. The beacon is lit. Actually listed as a visual buff to Protoss in the patch notes. You can check them in the description. And it does look very cool. Oh, Reynor with hold position, hold fire lurkers. Gets a couple extra slices that he wouldn't have otherwise. Well done by Reynor to soften up those stalkers. But Hero is maxed out. The Zerglings now will eventually get through. Hero just has a bunch of gateway units. Gateway man moving forward. Blunks on top of the lurkers. Knocks out two. Two more stuck behind the Hydras. The wall has been torn down. And the Zerg will stream in. But the charge lots are chopping up the drones as well. Both sides going to take some economic hits. Another Legion of Zealots is warped in. The charge lots ready. The Lurkers, but the Hydras are trapped in a prison of their own design. Hero is just disrespecting the Lurkers entirely. Fighting directly into multiple. The Mothership, the cloaking will save the bases. 14 and 16 workers taken down respectively, with Reynor losing a couple more. Oracle taken out. Archon's gliding up. Hero actually comes out ahead of this fight with more supply. A single roach survived, and yes, apparently there is enough space to maneuver, but Hero just throws the game into a bit of chaos, and, well, he thrives in such an environment. And, he's just up 25, like, it felt like Reynor had the initiative. Now, the issue with going for Spire at all is it slows down your hive tech. And if you slow down your hive tech, you allow the Protoss to luxuriate in this mid-game more often. And now Hero has 24 Zealots, 8 Archons, and actually 0 caring about getting Storm. So for all the brouhaha about Storm, it doesn't seem so relevant when Hero's involved. It's, oh my, the mass recall past into the Enclave base. He recalls in, the Lurkers will burrow, the Zealots are in a horrible location. He can recall out as well, though the Natural's taking a surprising amount of it. He recalls out, the rest of the, they'll expect some of us in the wreckage, brothers. Somewhat awkwardly, the Mothership is one of the units left behind. Manages to save his base. Lost the Templar archives. Well, Hero, he knocks out the Enclave. And he forces Reynor back with the majority of his units. He realized that he didn't have a Templar archives for warping in those Archons. And here's the thing about the hemming and hawing about Storm. Is Archons still exist? No matter how good or bad High Templar are, Archon's still very good with a bonus damage to biological, which includes gestures at Zerg. Including the buildings, by the way. Does Reynor know the Mothership is still back there? Wow. He does not. +3 shields is on the way. Wow. Hero actively going for the Archon maxing build. Of course, armor upgrades aren't very effective for Archons because they literally only have 10 HP. And armor only applies to that 10 HP. Speaking of 10, probes taken down. The Templar. It's merging time. Here I go. Wait. Oh, no. He recalled back into the main. The Mothership just waited it out. A time warp on the ramp. Oh, and charge lots in the third. Hero. Reynor being cloven in twain. And trying to come up his own ramp into the Archons. The Lurker dead under fire. Does he have detection? Yes? No, he had a revelation. I'm not sure if he has any more oracles back home. Or back here, rather. But the... Oh, yes, he does. They're right there. The Void Ray has somehow survived. There's no more Hydras. So the Void Ray and Mothership may actually be enough to take this out. 23 drones dead. Oracle's still going to work because the anti-air has been wiped out. The Lurker's scrambling to do anything at this stage. Meanwhile, well, Hero has lost a lot, but I think Reynor has lost much more. He lost the Lurker done. He lost 26 drones. He lost total map control. He lost access to his own base. What's going... This mini-map does not... There's zealots every which way. The Void Ray's killing the Hive. The Mothership is still chilling in the back base. The zealots are everywhere. Tempests are coming out. The Mothership has 28 kills. 5 Archons being merged. The supplies may be kind of close, but... The Lurkers, a single Tempest, and I mean, the anti-air is just 4 queens, which the Mothership could take out. No air weapons upgrades, because those are for nerds. Another, did he lose the fleet beacon? No, he's just building another fleet beacon, because you can never have too many. Like, is he at risk of losing it? I have no idea what he was trying to build. Maybe wait, how would it be a star? I have no idea. Never mind, it's Hero. Don't worry about it. Hero's Forrest Gumpian Protoss strategy striking again. Reynor has managed to claw back, but how does he beat the army? Like, okay, so the Lurkers are doing a lot of damage at the natural, which has somehow become the weakest point. But the Tempest just taking everything out. The Archon's melting underneath. Vipers pop out into the unit's loss tab. And it feels like at no point did Reynor have the ability to just fight the army. The Archon's boxing out for the Mothership, which has 36 kills. Many of them Lurkers and Hydras. And Hero just powers through to a decisive Game 1 victory. Reynor tried to slip in the mutas, and I feel like Hero just did not care at all. Just waltzing across. It almost... I can't tell with Hero. Is it a matter of principle? Is it intentional? Like, is he not getting Storm because he just doesn't think it's good, or because Archons are easier? Or they're more fun? Archons are just one of the coolest units, objectively. Alright? If you think otherwise, you're wrong. Okay? It's okay to be wrong, but... it's not okay to be Terran. Jimmy, edit most of that out. Game 2. Hero racks up a strong arm victory in Game 1. So, the best unit, probably against Archons, is Brood Lords. The thing, Archons are just really good. They're very expensive. All right, before I see all the guys, it's like, do you not know how expensive I am very aware of how expensive Archons are. That doesn't really change my opinion very much, though. Well worth it. All right. So for the cost of 2 Lurkers, you can get an Archon. The thing is, I would say, like, you get the Storms, then you get the Archons, but he just didn't bother. Like, he just straight into Archons every time. And there's something to be said about that as well, which is how quickly you can get there. Like, even with Storm, even with the energy recharge, Templar slowly gliding across their fancy capes, whereas Archons, here I go, killing again. Also have the coolest voice lines. Well, besides that and the Void Ray are up there. Annihilate. I do like, in the same vein, I like the Void Ray's Annihilation commencing. Just pretty hardcore. And speaking of Annihilation, make sure to check out my second channel for Beyond All Reason, the open source game based on Total Annihilation. Which I would say is getting more updates than this one, but it's been a ride already the last couple weeks. And you'll see. Another thing is, there's almost no unit less vulnerable to Banelings, besides air units, than Archons. Reynor didn't try any. But, in case there was a thought to use the higher HP Banelings, the Archons take approximately 74 Banelings to destroy. Okay, that's not true. The actual number's like 17. But, and they're so thick that splash damage has a tendency to only affect one at a time, much like your mother. So, it is it's just really good. Hero embrace. I feel like Hero's the bell curve. All right, you have like the Bronze League heroes are like, Zealot, Archon, A move, good. And then you have all the mid league players like, no, Storm and Sentries and Blink and Oracle Micro. And then Heroes like, Zealot, Archon, good. And that's where we ended up. Now, one game. Okay. One decisive game, but one game. The simple fact, and I am continually, I'm calling this out because I see comments not recognizing it. And people are wrong on the internet, and they have to be corrected. There's sometimes literally more Protoss versus Protoss mirror matchups in tournaments than there are Zerg matchups in total. Reynor will occasionally show up. Serral is only for the big bucks. Solar, Shin, Rogue are all Korean, which means they only play in some tournaments. They're not... Well, Hero plays in all the tournaments, but that's just because Hero doesn't sleep. All right. As Protoss, you can play in your sleep. Hero literally plays, like, all sorts of the day. Just like Dark and Beyond. And Clem. I just last night, for once casting live, Clem playing and winning weekly tournament, 4:30 a.m. French time. Against Solar, who woke up at like 8 a.m., which doesn't sound as crazy, but then you realize these are gamers. And Hero, in his elderly age of 33, one of the few players older than me. So, yeah. Hashtag goals. When I grow up, I want to be like Hero. Like, that's 6 months from now. Shut up! Gimme! I've got plenty of time. 4 Adepts, the Shady Bunch. Just showing up and uninvited, but I mean, who would invite the Protoss? Casual stasis. Diffuses it. Oracle just comes and drops a stasis in the middle of the mineral line. Meanwhile, Hero using the oracles as cover. There's a Templar Archives. Will he go for the storm? Baneling Nest is on the way for Reynor. I do think, against the more Ling Bane styles, it would be somewhat gross negligence not to go for storm. But that has never stopped Hero before. Did he see the Bane Nest? He did not. All right. Important to note. Oracles. And don't tell your friends what happened here. Brenda, you were trying to kill her. No, I was trying to say... It's about sending a message. I really don't think it is. Well, you know the Protoss have friends. They have time for it. You know, like, they only have to play part-time in order to be pro. Yeah, but some of them play Terran professionally, too. What? Sorry. The Zealots show up, and the Queens and Lings just kind of rip them apart. That did not do anything. Hero? Rainer's at 82 drones. Okay. So it doesn't get much better than this. Storm is on the way. And this is about the ideal scenario. Here on Satellite Years, again, remember to vote in the Team Liquid map contest, as the top 2 maps in voting will be on the ladder. And I know many of you just meant to get back on the ladder. It's been a few years. It's been 10 years. It's been all of the years. But, you know. Now, more importantly, it's the games, it's the matches and maps that the pros will play on, and the maps you'll be watching for the next 3 to 6 months. So, even if you don't play the latter, it's worth voting to get the maps you want to see more often. At least 2 of them guaranteed, and probably more, depending on how we're switching it up. The Zealot's holding the line. A fleet beacon is on the way on the back, but everything going right now for Reynor. I feel this is about as good of a scenario as it's gonna get for this sort of timing. Hydra, Ling, Bane. He's going to have Baneling speed relatively soon. Storm is already done. All right, with that larger radius, that duration. Simply micro out of the Storm, Reynor. Well, he wades through it. It doesn't do as much DPS, but it lasts for long enough. It's more like a very dangerous force field. Kind of overlapping the Disruptor in that now. But Hero's down 40 supply. He gives up eventually and just goes for the Archons, but the Storm's softening up a lot of this. Warp Prism, just also here. And the Oracle ran out of energy, now ran out of life. And the Queens. Brenda, I told you to stop using Apple Maps. No, we're fine. I told you we'd be fine. You're fine, Brenda. We're identical twins. Exactly. Sorry. By the way, Hero taking the Rich Vespine base on the high ground. So, focusing on that extra gas. He went Storm. Now we'll see. He's keeping a few Templar in reserve, but the Archons are clearly the priority for him. Reynor does not have an infestation pit. He has no hope of going to Hive. He's gonna try to break this. He's had 80 drones for much of it, but he's fighting onto the high ground. And he's underestimating the overwhelming power, I feel. Energy recharge was used. That's a lot of Hydras, the critical mass of Hydras. Well, enough Storms here. The Zealots warped in. The Warp Prism. The Queen's trying to get close enough, but another warping of Zealots. He'll take down the Prism, but the Zealots are dragging the army back. The Banelings pulled away at the last moment. Make sure he maintains them for the main fight. And, well, the Mothership is completed. The creep is literally to the doorstep of the base here. But Protoss don't have doors, so they'll just step freely. 28 Banelings, plus 5 HP apiece. But Reynor's still struggling to get to 200 supply. Kind of surprising how low it is considering the economy at the moment. Hero has, I mean, it's 4 bases to 4.2 or so. Hero's taking his 5th as well. The simple fact is the Rich Vespine is incredibly efficient in this scenario. You need gas? Well, maybe you can dodge 1 storm. You can dodge 2. You can dodge a wrench, but can you dodge an entire hurricane of storms? Oh, he just didn't cancel the base, but you know what? Not the end of the world. Banelings rolling in. Another wave of Zealots. And, well, Reynor finally accepting that he may need a bit higher tech. But Hero's now past the 150 mark in supply, where his army is going to be strong enough that if Reynor doesn't bring everything to bear, it could easily get crushed. Plus 3 attack. Plus 3 attack for Hero. Plus 2 ranged attack for Reynor. Plus 1 melee for the Lings and Banes. Hero re-expanding. Has lost 1 probe throughout this, despite the aggression. The Mothership overhead, a little bit slower, but I'm not even necessarily convinced that's a nerf. All right. As so many Protoss players have had a tendency, Hero especially, to wander forward with their Mothership because it's the only air unit with the army much of the time. So it being slower is like the seatbelt for the Protoss. Though I'm not sure why, I don't know why the Mothership is here. But Hero apparently does. Again, another one of those scenarios. I'm not sure if he anticipated this or it was just one of those happy little accidents. But it works out. The time warp stopping the flank entirely. Scouting Immortal Cutoff. Reynor going for a half-and-half base trade. Trying to keep the army at home. The probes will be obliterated. 10 probes dead and counting. But Hero's army is still a whole lot to contend with. 10 Archons, 7 Templars, some of which with multiple storms. He storms his own Archons, trusting them to survive the Maelstrom, and they don't. But neither do the Zerg. Oh my! One more time. I want to see. We're gonna slow it down so we can get a real feel for the. It's insidious, that damage. Because you're not, you know it does less, but it lasts so long that a lot of players, I think, are still in the old, like, the Hydras are just wading through it, and suddenly Reynor realizing, but it's too late. By the time he realizes the storms have yet to run out, I think the muscle memory of a lot of especially Zerg players is, like, in the previous patch, those Hydras all would have, like, yellow HP. Because they would have taken like a half second of storm, but then it would have ended. But instead, while the storm doesn't do as much damage, they waded through it chasing the army. Hero using it as I think it should be used, not as an instant burst like a nuke or a disruptor, but as just a literal hurricane to quickly, yet not instantaneously, rip apart everything in that area for the foreseeable future. And with it, I mean, you're not beating this army. Like, this is the Protoss. 9 Immortals, 5 Archons, 5 High Templar, 1 Mothership, 0 fucks. That is Hero in a nutshell. All right, just hit Banelings, just ruining the probes, freeing up supply for the. Again, it looks kind of close in supply, but I'm telling you, a Zerg. The only hope is somehow denying detection, which is not a fun place to be. This army will destroy the Lurkers. 10 Lurkers is nothing. The Zealot coming in, storming on the edges. Also, the storm's a little better against Lurkers. It only takes 2 storms to destroy them now. Hero sees a full concave of Lurkers. He does not care. Goes forward. The Mothership. It's about as good of a yeah, okay. Reynor GG's before even seeing how it ends. Hero storms on point. The Archons leading the point. And Hero goes to match point. Just like that. In my opinion, again, Zerg got nothing to make it easier against Protoss in this new patch. Maybe Hydraling Bane timings are a little bit stronger some of the time. But it was already, for everyone who wasn't that one Finnish guy, it was already a titanic struggle to play against the later game Protoss composition. And Microbial Shroud does less than nothing to help with that. Banelings, like I mentioned, okay. Spire is not. What is this? What are you doing here? We're on Tourmaline, which doesn't look like it has very many bases at all. You know you're playing against Zerg, right? Ah, is this the normal Hero move of? You know, Hero's an entertainer. I don't even know if he does it intentionally. That's the beauty of Hero. But he's like, all right, now we're just going to do something completely different. This is a 1 base all in. He's not even cannon rushing. You know you're playing against Zerg. He's not walling off the low ground. That's... So, well, no, I'm not even going to say it, because right now in the new patch, Protoss has a near 2-3 win rate against Zerg overall. This is not the only series that was played, but yeah. While Zerg has options, those options pretty much consist of when do I want to desperately all in and hope for the best. That's my opinion. All right, make Zerg fun again. That's, if we were gonna have hot fixes patches, I think you have to throw Cyril out a window. Maybe literally. There's a non-zero chance Hero just forgot he was playing Zerg versus Protoss, because this is like a PvP wall-off. Maybe when you play Protoss versus Protoss so often, it just kind of, you forget. But yeah. With the Oracle, well, the real source of the issues in Zerg versus Protoss, and to an extent Protoss versus Terran, issues that I'm defining. The patch does not say it's trying to fix anything, which is interesting. It's energy recharge, and the inability for Zerg to do any sort of aggression without it being a massive commitment. The existence of the Oracle, not in this game. This game, we're doing whatever this is. I have no idea. Reynor's just doing a normal build, and Hero decided to go back to Wings of Liberty. Or legitimately forgot it was Protoss, not Protoss versus Protoss. Again, I am not confident that he's fully present in the... Why would... Sometimes your hands are just on autopilot. Or hands, if you're not using the keyboard today. But between the Queen costing more money, the Oracle defending absolutely everything, Adepts constantly scouting as well as hallucinations, like there's no opportunity to sneak something if it isn't super early game. And it just that's why it feels whenever Hero remembers what matchup we're playing, like we're watching the same game over and over, because Zerg can't do any aggression and Protoss has no incentive to do so if they can just get more ahead. Like, if Zerg is always on a timer to try to get damage done, then it's in Protoss's best interest to figure out exactly when they're going to try to get damage done, defend it as strongly as possible, and then just have a better army later. Because the Protoss army, 90% of the time, in an even supply situation in the later game, like we saw in the last 2 games, is just better. What is this? Hero just... the shady bunch? Okay. He's still gonna kill a surprising amount of probes. Recalls out with the Adepts. Absolutely just freestyling this game. This is... there's no way this isn't just random. Like... what are you doing? Well... he still eventually got the Stargate. This wall off is well, it's a bunch of Adepts with Oracles at a very awkward timing. The lair's halfway done. Reynor just built 8 drones, so clearly not anticipating random gateway timing. There's some Zerglings, but not really enough. Is he gonna complete that shade? He does, but the positioning is not great. It's not terrible. He flies through the Spore Crawler, somehow manages to survive. Well, kills 8 drones, but Reynor did build a bunch right before this. See that Mothership over there. What? This is the most... this is such random Adept timings. And if he had really focused on the shades, if he had set up a better... like, if the Zerglings didn't have maximum surface area, That could have been devastating. Reynor clearly not anticipating this sort of timing. We got the triumvirate of oracles back at home. But, so here we are. Hero does have a third. He's now swerving into what is your much more expected timing, which is Templar Archives, Blink +1. Thing is, Reynor already has 4 bases and 68 drones. So, it's his best position yet going into this stage of the game. I guess that's my personal complaint, is that you can do strategies like this as Protoss. You can throw 11 Adepts, a few Oracles with a random ass build, and still have a chance to do game-winning damage. He didn't, but it was a thin margin against the second best Zerg player in the world. Like, Hero's just literally out here finger painting, whereas Reynor is desperately trying not to get paint splattered in his eyes. Whereas, if you don't do a very particularly executed timing, like if you just send 20 Zerglings against Protoss, then 1 Oracle defends it on its own, which they were building anyways. And that is the split. That is a bit of a struggle in the matchup, I feel, at the moment. Doesn't mean it's imbalanced. It just means the design feels like Zerg is getting cyberbullied until they can eventually punch back if they're lucky. And here we go. The punch back is happening. The Hydras and Lings. Storm is not done because of this meandering tech tree that he's gone through. And without Storm, it's just Stalkers. +1 attack on either side. Ranged attack. Now the Oracles. Storm is now done. A few Zerglings slipping around. A breadcrumb stasis ward. Lurker Den is on the way. The stasis. Oh, the stasis was nerfed. It only lasts 90 seconds as opposed to about 3 minutes. But that's plenty of time in order to zone out Zerglings for a while. Hero, got some Stalkers, got some Templar, no Archons so far. The Hydras, he blunks forward to box out and then uses the Storms to zone the rest. The Hydras wade through the Storms, Archons are merged, but Hero kind of blinks into a 360-degree concave. And not even Storm can help him out of it. Blink helps him survive, but Reynor has been able to go straight up to Hive Tech for Lurkers. And the Hero just exhausted all of his Templar. I don't think he even has a robotics facility. So, no Immortals. A Fleet Beacon is on the way. +2 ground attack. Now, here come the Lurkers. The detection will be Revelation. Thing is, with just Stalker, does he even have charge? He does. The Storm, gonna pull back with the Lurkers, use Blink, almost shaves away 1. But there goes the Oracle, there goes another Lurker, 2, but there's enough here to make some more progress. Energy recharge still on cooldown. The Lurkers will burrow, some transfuse, the creep is here. Hero keeping it together. The Templar don't really have enough energy. He's gonna blink back, but he doesn't have detection on all of the Lurkers. And Reynor's economy as well. He has 90 drones. He has Hive Tech Lurkers. And Hero starting to crumble. It looks... Well, the pieces did not come together. He never got a robo. I'm saying in the past tense because... Well... I guess there's a Mothership on the way, but the Storms are not on the mark. Hero doesn't have that core of Immortals. He hasn't been able to build up a bunch of Archons. Reynor got to the Hydras and the Lurkers almost before Storm. And Hero's freestyle build does not look like it's working out. Also a relatively short rush distance, helping to bring the queens with the push. Hero's gonna fight to the bitter end, as always. Falls back. The Mothership, well, there's no detection, so there's a small chance the Mothership popping out with active cloaking could actually turn this entire fight around. I don't know. Even if this army was wiped off the field just spontaneously with no losses, I don't know if he could turn it around. But, you know, it's Hero. The Lurker slicing through. The Mothership has arrived. The Oracles may die a split second before, which is the absolute worst case scenario. The high, yeah, well. Mothership just dies. Oracles die. Hero dies. He can be killed. Now, that was, to say that was a sloppy game from Hero would really highlight the point, because it was Hero, but I have no idea. He just did, he walled off the high ground like it was PvP. I'm hard-pressed to come up with an explanation that wasn't he forgot he wasn't playing PvP. But mid-series? Like... And it wasn't like a cannon rush or something. It was just a one-gate expand on the high ground, which is just not a thing. There's no reason to do that. Unless you're convinced your opponent is going to do a 12 pull or some sort of early rush. I continue. My gabbers are flasted yet again by Hero. But, well, maybe he realized that a 3-0 would look real bad. And except he almost turned it around with his menagerie of units. Just he never really got the pieces put together. Using the Zest portrait. We're on Ruby Rock. It does have an interesting look, like the very high contrast. Almost matte look to it. Kind of like it. I think it's good to have one or two of these maps. And then... I like having a good mix. The maps that look like they are just a deserted space station, and then you've got your like nature maps, like the last one, and then something in between. Sometimes we got underwater. But I like the variety. If the builds are gonna be the same, except for the glowing exception in the last game, then we might as well have a different scenery. Again, somehow Hero makes every game about him. That's one of his powers. Even when he loses, it's not about Reynor's crazy strategy. It's Reynor reacting to whatever madness Hero is currently inflicting upon him. And following the basic logical progression to deal with it, which does work out for once. But Hero has rediscovered walling off at his natural, give or take. Didn't actually do the pylon as part of the wall. Interesting. Adept headed across the Stargate in the main, of course. Now we see. I think it's going to have to be whatever Hero has in store for us. Adept shading around, trying to keep tabs. Clicking on the gas, seeing if he's mined anymore. Reynor's mined exactly 100. You start with 2250, click on it, 2150. All right. Now I know not all of you are math nerds, though a surprising amount very likely are. But that's exactly 100 gas, right? Hero may or may not be paying attention to that, but generally you can sometimes see the Roach Warren behind the mineral line. Get an idea of whether they're going for circling speed. very simply almost impossible to hide that information from the Protoss. Alright, so a bunch of Zerglings here, but the Oracle kind of precludes dealing with the Stalker. The Zergling's trying to run by. Is he going to force him to light it up? Hero just slaps down the Nexus. It's safer if it's already started because he's working on the HP then. Probes have less HP than a Nexus. Ask the math nerds. And the Stalker, not quite able to kill the Overlord. Lights up the Oracle. Overlord dies a dramatic death after such a quandary here. Oh, Hero puts that Stalker back on hold position for now. Twilight Council double gases at the natural. A third Oracle. Let's see if any Moracles, even Foracles maybe on the way. Hero sneaking back. Trying to slip by. And does so successfully. There's just a big dead space in the background. The Queens, despite their best efforts, not able to go any further. It's a sore spot. Shady bunch headed across. And 6 Adepts. Yeah, well, 25 Zerglings in total. Reynor should have enough to deal with it. Stasis kind of boxing out the Queens. Gonna throw another one in there. Adept Shade. Just draws the Zerglings in. The Queens will be caught. The Adepts actually complete the Shade. And recalls out. One of the Queens is caught in the stasis. And Hero, just gonna go Glaive Adepts with +1. This almost feels spiteful. Like, well, the Adepts didn't work last game, so we're gonna put a little more effort into it. Well, Hero determined to try some alternative strategies to the ones that have already had resounding success. Which, you know, it's a very Zerg-like thing. But the Zergs don't really have this ability anymore. But I'm gonna credit Hero and say this is limit testing. He knows how he can win very likely and pretty reliably. So, let's mix it up a bit. I still think that last game was just a bit of a blackout situation. But this is definitely... You know what? Let's do it. Let's go. Adept Glaives. Which I'm usually not huge on. But this is about as huge as the Adepts ever get. He's just got 15 Adepts. Reynor has no idea. The Overlords were taken out earlier. The Shady Bunch Adepts usually precludes a big, like, Stalker play. But surprise! He just blinks on top with the Adept Shades. The Oracle's with a... He's just slicing right through the Zerglings. There's no wall. Reynor has 72 drones, though that is probably not going to be true for very much longer. Several being cut down. Roaches in production. Behind this, there is Blink, and Hero does have 60 probes, so it's not like he has no economy. Just jumps on top, gonna target fire the Roaches. He does have +1, so those Adepts a little better than you're kind of used to seeing. Just slapping in some stasis, and if he gets lucky once, that could be a game-winning move. Hero's up 20 supply. Adepts, Adepts, Adepts. How many Roaches? Oh, I think Hero just won the game. Yeah.
He's dead.
Reynor. G. Well, it just kind of ends. Hero pulls another card out of his bag of tricks, which has a bunch of cards in it. All right, don't question it. And pulls out another victory. Reynor manages to scrape one back. But, so, some of it's just Hero, and some of it is the maps. Like, there's so many things conspiring against Zerg. I know, put my tinfoil creep on, but new maps are always difficult. There's always another angle or something like the Mothership in Game 1 where you're not really expecting and haven't adapted yet. So that's part of it. But another part of it... Oh my god, Hero. Ah, yes. You ever get supply blocked? Somehow he did what Zergs do with their overlords with pylons. Everyone like, no, you have to put your pylons in useful locations. Hero's like, hey, look at my pylon farm. All right. You know what gives people feelings of power? But, so, the patch did not give Zerg anything to deal with the early shenanigans. The feeling of constantly being poked and prodded and slapped around and your ears being flicked and your nipples being tickled by, you know, I mean, you might be into that, but it's fucking weird. By whatever random ass unit comes across the map, Queen's costing more, Oracle's always having energy, energy recharge on a shorter cooldown means more spot defense. I don't know how you fix it, but I think an acknowledgement of the potential issue is important. But then again, consider, Cyril keeps winning. So, make Zerg fun again, somehow. Reynor gets taken to school by someone who's almost old enough to be his teacher. Actually, easily so. And Hero with a convincing victory. Thank you to Wardy and the Team Liquid map cousins. Make sure to vote on your favorite map so that we can see them more regularly and maybe the Zergs can eventually figure it out. All 3 of them that still exist. Otherwise, thank you for watching and bearing with me through a bit of extra salt today, but it hits close to home. Hope it made your day a little bit better. Good luck, have fun. I'll see you next time. If you got the means and motivation, you also check out Patreon or YouTube membership. But I hear liking and subscribing is still free, at least for now. Thank you to our meal tier patrons bringing in those extra minerals. Big Jiggy, Devin, Dor, Drek, Kate, Mario, and Sue. Glad to still enjoy. Again, see you next time. Good luck, have fun. Stay tuned.